Alright, in this video we're going to talk about the area and perimeter of polygons when we see them in a coordinate plane. Remember area, that is finding the amount that's inside the polygon, and perimeter, finding the amount around or on the outside of the polygon. Some formulas for you to remember. The important ones here: area of a triangle, 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2 is the area. Perimeter, adding up those sides. Parallelogram, area is base times height. Remember, height is forming that altitude or 90 degrees with the base. Rectangle, similar to the parallelogram, but it already has that 90-degree angle. So area is length times width. Again, adding up the sides for the perimeter. And a circle, don't forget that one. Area, pi r squared, where r is the radius. And the perimeter, which we call circumference, is 2 times pi times r, or pi times diameter. Alright, so let's try a few of these. We're going to draw a polygon with the vertices, find the perimeter, and area. Alright, E is -1, -1. There's E. F, 2, -1. G, -1, -3. -1, -3. And H, -4, -3. Alright, and if we draw these lines, connect them together, you would see we actually have a parallelogram. Alright, so if we find the area of a parallelogram was base times height. Length of the base, let's use HG as our base. You can count up the blocks to see how far it is. 1, 2, 3. So the base is 3. The height has to form the altitude or 90-degree angle, so here's our height, and that is 2 high. So the area of my area of my parallelogram, 3 times 2, or 6. 6 square units. Perimeter, remember perimeter? Adding up those sides. So we found HG plus EH plus EF plus FG. HG we already found is 1, 2, 3. EH we don't know yet, but we do know EF. We can count that. 1, 2, 3. Those were easy to find. Alright, notice EH and FG, those are not horizontal or vertical, so they're a little bit harder to find, but we can find those using our distance formula. Let's do that down here. EH. We've got our distance formula. Let me write it at the top here. When we take the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So let's use that to help us find EH. So we'll take the square root and -4 minus a -1 squared plus -3 minus a -1 squared. -4 minus a -1 negative 4 minus a negative 1, that will give us negative 4 plus 1, or negative 3. So that would be negative 3 squared. Negative 3 minus a negative 1, that's the same as negative 3 plus 1, so that would be a negative 2 squared. Negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 2 squared is 4. So that tells us that EH is the square root of 13. I can plug that into my calculator in a minute and find out exactly what that is. But let's find FG. This looks very similar to a parallelogram, so this should be the same, but let's check it to make sure. Alright, negative 1 minus 2 squared plus, we're doing FG, negative 3 minus a negative 1 squared. Negative 1 minus 2, that would be negative 3 squared, which is 9. Negative 3 minus a negative 1, that would be negative 3 plus 1, which should be negative 2 squared is 4. You can see again we get square root of 13. Alright, so plug that into your calculator. 3 plus square root of 13 plus 3 plus square root of 13. Should end up with your perimeter being approximately 13.21 units. Alright, so your turn to try it. This time you are going to try one with a triangle. Here are your coordinates. Alright, hopefully you've had some time to work on this one. I have H is negative 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. Here's my H. J is at 2, 6. K is at 2, 1. We've got ourselves a nice right triangle. Alright, area of our triangle, remember, was base times height divided by 2. Or you could say 1/2 base times height. We can see we have a nice right angle going on here, so I can use HK as my base. My base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 long. My height can be JK, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Divided by 2. That's 25 divided by 2, or 12.5 square units. That would be my area, my perimeter. Add up the sides. Remember we said this was 5, we counted the squares. This was 5. So 5 plus 5 plus, we just need to find HJ. Need to use the distance formula to do that. Alright, so that would be 2 minus a negative 3 squared plus 6 minus 1 squared. 2 minus a negative 3 would be 2 plus 3, which is 5. 5 squared is 25. 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 squared again is 25. So HJ is the square root of 50. So put that into our calculator. 5 plus 5 plus the square root of 50. You should end up with 17.07. Alright, hopefully you were able to get that one. We will practice these more in class.